Hey everyone, welcome to Wax Pack Wisdom, where we talk baseball history through card breaks and the cards we love. My name is Jake T. O'Donnell. Today we're opening this pack of 1994 Upper Deck Collector's Choice. We are kicking off 2024 with a pack from exactly 30 years ago. This is my wheelhouse era as a fan. I'm 8 years old. Of course, it would be remiss if I didn't say that 1994 was not a great year in the history of Major League Baseball. And it was a tough year to be an 8-year-old baseball fan, where basically the only thing you care about is baseball. But we're going to see what we find in this pack with that's got Kirby Puckett on the cover here. This is a nice foil pack. Upper Deck definitely at this point is one of the premier baseball card brands. You can see they had this sort of you crash the card thing, like you make the play. They used to do like some really cool stuff. So let's see what we get in this pack. And the first card is a Hall of Famer, of course, is Barry Larkin. One of the greats, a Hall of Fame shortstop for the Cincinnati Reds, who made a name for himself during, especially this era, late, I believe, his rookie year was sometime in the late 80s, maybe 88, 89, somewhere in there. And then 1990, he's the star of the World Series champions of the Reds, and then spends his whole career there with the Reds. One of, not a lot of guys that, played their whole career in one place, but that's Barry Larkin, definitely one of the stars, Hall of Famers of the 90s of this era. Next is Dave Burba. I always used to like to say his name, Burba. He was a good pitcher for quite a few years with the Giants. I think he was with the Indians as well later on. Good pitcher, starting pitcher. Nothing too special, I guess, but just a nice player for a lot of years. There is Roberto Mejia with the Rockies. This would be the second year for the Rockies, and I don't really know a lot about him. The Rockies had a lot of good players from the get-go, right off the bat, and they made the playoffs pretty early in their run too. I think it was 95, 96. They were a wild card team pretty much immediately. Next up here is Bill Swift. Bill Swift from South Portland, Maine. Not a lot of baseball players, not a lot of players made it to the big leagues from the state of Maine, but Bill Swift was one of them. So there you go. And you gotta love that. You gotta love seeing players come out of Maine. Swift had a good long career. He's spent years with the Mariners in addition to the Giants. All right. Next up is Don Slott. I feel like I have a ton of Don Slott cards from the 80s and 90s. Catcher, kind of more of a backup catcher, I guess you could say, for the guy's name of the catcher is escaping me. With the Pirates had Mike LaValliere. They had a few other guys too, but Don Slott was a catcher of some renown. The Pirates were very good during this stretch. Don't forget that. Next up is Curtis Pride. What's interesting about Curtis Pride is that he was deaf. Not a lot of players in big league history were deaf. Curtis Pride was one of them, and he still managed to have a really good career in spite of that. He was not an all-star level player by any means, but just a good player. Again, 94 is a really, I guess, we talked about this was a sad year in baseball history. It was definitely a sad year for the the Expos, long term, because of the fact that they had the best record in the National League, and they were wagging a house on fire, and then the strike happens, and a lot of the great players from that team end up leaving, and the rest is history. The Expos within 10 years are in Washington, so sad story. Here's one of my favorite players from the 90s. None other than the legendary Rod Beck. Rod Beck is your classic closer. If you think about who the Kenny Powers character in Eastbound and Down is based on, as a sort of former relief pitcher in the big leagues, Rod Beck has to be sort of near the top of the list. He used to smoke in the I think he used to smoke in the bullpen, and he just, the long hair going and the mustache, and the guy was just a whole mood. I loved when he was on the Red Sox, sort of closer to the end of his career. Just your classic. Like if you guys go on Instagram and check out the Greatest Show on Dirt Instagram feed. So I'm sure that there's a ton of Rod Beck stuff on there. Just that type of, driving a pickup truck with, empty, PBR cans in the back, and just a hilarious guy, and just funny, and I loved rooting for him. But not to be lost in that was that he was a very good closer and a very good relief pitcher for a long time. But Rod Beck is no longer with us. Sadly, he died too young. So rest in peace to the great Rod Beck. But just wanted to when I think of a guy like Rod Beck, I think about my youth watching baseball. He always makes me smile. So there's Rod Beck for you. Here's Dwayne Ward, who was an outstanding pitcher with the world champion. This is, of course, 94. The Blue Jays are coming off back-to-back World Series championships, and that's a great look there for Dwayne Ward. Rearing back, throwing that pitch. Just a fabulous relief pitcher with a great bullpen that those teams had with Tom Henke and a few other guys too. But Dwayne Ward was a huge part of that. Here's a great. I love this picture. There's Roger McDowell using what looks like some kind of a instant camera and with the headband taking pictures before a game. Roger McDowell was a character. Many years with the Mets as well, in addition to the Dodgers. Funny guy and one of the great personalities of the game in the 80s and 90s, and a pretty darn good pitcher too, if I must say. So that's classic. Speaking of classic, here's one of the greats of the 80s and 90s, and you see him making the play at first base. The big dog, the big guy, Cecil Fielder. Just a gargantuan human being and a gargantuan power hitter in the 80s and 90s in Major League Baseball. So many great years with the Tigers, also years with the Blue Jays. Played around a bit. I think he was with the Yankees as well later on. Of course, he's the father of Prince Fielder, who himself has a great career in the big leagues for many years. But really loved him. Loved Cecil Fielder as a player. And he was just one of those fun guys to watch. And just a very large human being, no question about that. There is Cliff Floyd. This is a rookie class card. Cliff Floyd had a really good career, a lot of years with the Expos, years with the Marlins as well, later also the Red Sox briefly for a stretch. So really good player. And then the last card in the pack is Luis Ortiz, who is a Red Sox prospect. Actually, I can't really say I know a lot about him because he didn't really end up having much of an impact in the major leagues. So we're gonna finish up here. That is the end of this pack of 94 Upper Deck Collector's Choice. There is Barry Larkin, your Hall of Famer, in the middle there. So that is going to do it for this edition of Wax Pack Wisdom. Tell us what you thought of this break. What's your favorite card we pulled today? Do you have a story of one of the players in this pack? Leave us a comment and let us know. We'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this video, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our Wax Pack Wisdom content. In the video description, you can find a link where you can follow Wax Pack Wisdom on all social media channels. You'll also find a link to a list of our favorite nonprofits and charities. If you enjoyed this video, please consider a donation to one of those organizations. It would mean a lot to us. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time on Wax Pack Wisdom. Take care.